So welcome everyone to our seminar about creativity on the Mother Road, which is in line with the Centennial of Route 66, which runs, of course, along Central Avenue. I'm Lisa Kutula, and I'm president of UNM Rainforest Innovations. And this is a little bit different kind of seminar than we've done in the past. So I'm excited to see all of you, and for our panelists, looking forward to the discussion. I want to say that Larry Scalar, who is going to be our moderator today, he's a prolific inventor. He has 60-some patents and a number of startups, and he's retired. He's a working retiree from the Health Sciences Center. And he came to us with this idea of really focusing more on the intersection of technology, the arts, and really including our community more into the things we're doing at the rainforest. So I'm really excited about this potential and look forward to hearing what our panel has to say. So I'm going to turn it over to Larry.
Thank you, Lisa. So this is the first event in a series, and what we're hoping to
There is a microphone too.
So this is the first event in a series, and we're hoping to engage community and sort of extend the range of the rainforest reach in terms of creativity and economic development. I guess the first important thing you need to know is that lunch has been catered by Al's Big Dipper, and that's at Copper and Fifth at the main library. So it's part of the Route 66 ecosystem. And so the goals of the series is to bring the STEM people, the tech people, and the artists, creative artists together and make STEAM. And we're going to start today at UNM. And then we're going to expand the series to engage the creative community. And before I start, let me just tell you a few things about the way that academics think about themselves, because all of the people here are academics, and their roles involve teaching, scholarship, and what the university calls service. And that might be within the university, or it could be the way that they engage the community. So I'm going to just tell you who our panelists are, and then we'll start with questions, and they will actually tell you more about who they are. On my right, Dr. James Stone, who's the chair of the Department of Film and Digital Arts. And what he said about himself is he spearheaded the transformation of the department's curriculum to adapt to film, animation, and gaming industry opportunities. Next to him is Stuart Copeland, who is assistant professor, experimental art and technology and development director of the Arts Lab. And the Arts Lab is an important place where technology and experimental art come together. And then on the left is Dr. Alicia Bustos, who's a postdoctoral fellow in computer science. And she's working in a lot of areas with students involving the intersection of the human-computer interaction and as an avenue for youth to explore new technologies. So with that, without further ado, we have a series of questions, and the panelists will also get to show some of their work, because art being intrinsically visual, it's an opportunity for the audience to actually get a sense of what they do and what it looks like. So the first question is introducing yourself and your work and how you've incorporated creativity and technology into your work. Dr. Stone?
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much, Larry. Nice to see everybody. Thank you very much. I'll give it a try. I was all in on this gathering as soon as I read the words Mother Road, because Route 66 is one of the reasons I came to America in the first place. Anything to do with Route 66, American road culture, diner culture, really has always affected me. And I still drive these highways of New Mexico with a very cinematic sensibility. So anyway, very happy to be here and be part of this. I am the chair of the Film and Digital Arts Department at UNM, and we have had the distinction for the past 10 years of being the fastest growing department at the university. We currently have 700 plus majors and pre-majors, meaning that's the number of students we're currently serving who are wanting to be movie makers and people who write about films. The animators and game designers who also teach gaming and animation. So it's been a real fantastic period of growth. And I think that has to do with the fact that we pivoted about 10 years ago. We pivoted from a department that was mostly doing a film studies approach, where there was a sort of a sideline in movie making. You could do a few classes in movie making. And we entirely pivoted because we saw what was happening in New Mexico. We saw the economic landscape and realized that, my word, students here, young people here especially, are going to want to be part of this movie industry, this burgeoning movie industry. And of course they did. And so the moment we offered classes in directing, producing, screenwriting, a lot of the above the line producing professions, we started to get an enormous growth in student interest. So, and that has paid off. We have a lot of alumni who are working in remarkable places in the state, like Meow Wolf and Netflix, but also beyond the state. Last year we had our first Emmy nominee. Fritz Pitsui was nominated for an Emmy. We have two of our former students, big post-production specialists, who are now working with David Fincher. You probably know who David Fincher is on his post-production team. So yes, it's been a wonderful time. And of course, what we do by its very nature is a bringing together of art and technology.
Thanks. Hi. I'm same question. My name's Stuart. I'm the director of the Arts Lab. Thanks for having me. I grew up. I'm from Tennessee originally, and I went and studied film and got obsessed with documentary filmmaking, and made films for 10 years. And in that time, I moved back to Tennessee, and in that time was also just kind of being a professional artist, and so I was doing a lot of other work. And I think it's one of the things that's really hard since today so much about kind of creative economy. Sometimes you want to put people in a box about how their creative practice emerges or manifests, but it's much more complex than that. It's like I was making films, I was also playing music, and then I was in a band touring full time, and then shooting films on the side, and then also I ran a small press comics and zine shop on the side, in a small gallery. So in that 10 years, I had so many different experiences, and now in my position as a director at the Arts Lab, I see that too. Like I see the way that our graduates and students come through, and they have so much knowledge, and they have so many different, their practice kind of manifests in so many different ways. And then when technology gets introduced to that, it just explodes. It's so exciting to see ways people can connect and build and kind of grow the creative economy in general. So I've got some slides later I'm looking forward to sharing with you, but yeah, it's really great to be here.
Hello, I'm Alicia Bustos. Thank you guys for having me here. I'm a postdoc at UNM in the computer science department. I actually graduated last semester, in last May. with my PhD. And my PhD research and the work that I continue now is working with middle school and high school students, like local here in Albuquerque, to create interactive murals, which I have some videos to show you. So we blend traditional murals with ubiquitous computing, so just like touch sensors and whatnot, so you can actually interact with the murals. As you know, being around from here in New Mexico, murals have like a really long history here. I'm, like I said, I'm local here, and I never, at least when I was younger, wasn't really introduced to technology or like engineering until I got to college. So kind of my goal is to introduce students and like younger students here about technology and art, and that they can use, I mean, they're amazing talents. Like there's a lot of amazing like young students who are artists that don't get the opportunities to learn necessarily about technology and whatnot. So yeah, I'm excited to show some videos as well.
So why don't you hold the microphone and we'll go back in the other direction. Tell us about creativity in the place where you work and the projects of current interest.
Okay. Yeah, so right now, like I said, I'm a postdoc, but I'm teaching in our department, which computer science, usually you think of video games or algorithms and whatnot. And so for my classes, I like to incorporate physical kind of projects, because a lot of our projects in computer science are making some video game or programming some just on the screen artifact or software. So the work that I've been doing is working and teaching students actually to combine hardware and programming. So this semester I'm teaching a special topics course where I'm actually having them create like these interactive art pieces and being able to kind of use computer science and programming aspects to create something physical, which is kind of what my work has been for the last couple of years. One thing that I would like to do though is start working with individuals with different, like not necessarily like learning disabilities, but like students who struggle with, you know, just traditional like lecture kind of classroom environments and getting them to be more hands-on. Because I think that's being hands-on and like really getting your hands into projects just really helps, I think, click for teaching students how to learn. So yeah, that is I hope that answers your question.
Stuart, any question for you?
Yeah, and then we're going to show some slides. I've got some really great slides that kind of walk us through this, but
Yeah,
we'll get to that later.
That's the next
Cool.
question.
Okay, yeah, we do so the Arts Lab is it's been around for 20 years. It's a facility that we're research focused. We're inside the College of Fine Arts, but we're really focused on connecting faculty and students inside the College of Fine Arts to other colleges across the university to work on research projects. I've been at Arts Lab for 5 years. I've been really focused on trying to open up more engagement with community. So we just concluded a really major NASA grant to establish our community immersive technology hub, which is a large suite of AR and VR technology is now accessible. We have a program called Dance Hackathon where it's open to technologists and dancers in the community to partner up on teams and work on these projects that are like collaborative dance and technology experimental pieces that then premiere in the summer during the show. We have a really vibrant, kind of exciting lecture series that happens all the time. We've got some great artist talks coming up this semester, so check out the website for it. And every day there's something new and cool going on down at the lab. We really support the way that, no one's bending over backwards to give the arts money. It's something we all know. The one thing that we've kind of, our niche has been to kind of find large pieces of complex equipment that lots of different researchers at the university want access to. It's a problem at the university where sometimes really complex equipment gets put into a department. It gets used for a research project for a year or so, and then it falls apart. No one knows how to maintain it. No one knows how to keep it going. So we try to get those things. We provide access to all these different users, and we build a business model around it. And people are always like, "Whoa, a business model." But the business model is just your terms of access. So you can try to make this equipment as accessible as possible. And also you have a plan to maintain it long term. So some of the equipment that we have is we have a gigantic cubic meter print volume 3D printer. We have a digital Jacquard loom. We have a risograph printer. We have 3D scanners and motion capture systems and all this crazy stuff. And whenever it's not getting used or when it's done on its main projects, then we have artists using it. And I've always found too that when artists get on this kind of equipment, they push it in totally new directions, and new problems emerge, new ideas emerge, and exciting research happens around it.
So, James, you're gonna hold the mic, you're gonna answer this question, and then you get to show slides. And if you want to answer the question while you're showing slides, that's okay.
Okay, I think I'll talk first and then we'll get to the slides. So let me tell you a few exciting things that are happening with us. So we have three buildings. One is the Seria building just there on campus, which we share with biology, which is an art science collaboration. We have another building called the Robert Hartung building, and then we have a third, which is 20 minutes south of town, called the Mesa del Sol building, otherwise known as the Aperture building. The wonderful thing about that is it's right next to Netflix studios. We look out of our window at Mesa del Sol and there's Netflix. So it's very inspiring to us, very inspiring to our students who do end up going there and working in writers' rooms and working as PA. There's a fantastic pipeline at the moment between people who become PAs with Netflix and then end up as ADs, assistant directors. So many of those that we recently had a panel in our department of people who started off as PAs and ended up as Netflix ADs. So yeah, that's great stuff. Having said that, we have all these lovely buildings. We have never had a purpose-built on-campus studio space. The studio spaces we use on campus are essentially classrooms. So they don't have the high ceilings, they don't have the grids, all that stuff. Now, this is a tie-in to Route 66. Out there on Central Avenue, at Girard and Central, you may have seen a building going up. Gorgeous new interdisciplinary fine arts building called the CCAT building. And for the first time ever, we're going to have a purpose-built studio space in that building. It's called a soundstage. It's not enormous. It's not a 30,000 square feet soundstage. You can't drive a truck. You can't drive a F-15 fighter jet onto it like you can on some sound stages, but it's still going to be great. It's got high ceilings and it's got a grid and it's going to serve us wonderfully. So we're happy about that. What else is going on? We also have a series of talks that we do. We call it the Mentor Series. We bring in producers, directors, writers from all over the country to come and speak to our students and inspire them. That's a regular piece of our work. I should also tell you about something we do, which we're pretty proud of. It's called The Show. And the show happens every summer. It's a class. But what it does over a very, very intensive 2 weeks is bring together our students with industry professionals. And they do a lot of, those industry professionals do a lot of mentoring with students who work as heads of department. We've put students into head of department positions in cinematography, in all the elements of a movie set. And that's some of the best experience that I've ever had as a teacher, is watching our students, standing, looking at a monitor, and then behind them is one of the best cinematographers in New Mexico saying, well, what do you think of that? Should we change the light there? Should we change the shadow there? And that's an amazing project, I think, The Show that happens. We've done it maybe, I think, 6 or 7 years now, every summer. And students don't necessarily get a good idea of what a movie set is like on a daily basis. What is a hands-on movie set from dawn to dusk? On The Show, they get that. So before they go into the industry, they get this practical experience. Shall we look at some pretty pictures? I can show you some of those students I was talking about. Okay, this is a very, I can move through this pretty fast, but, just.
There's a clicker up there.
Oh, thank you.
We'd have to turn it on.
Okay. Don't know if I do. So I always like to have pictures of women with cameras, because the film industry is still a very male-dominated industry, and we are proud to say that more than 50% of our students are women. So we hope to be changing the way the industry looks. And there is one of our students with one of our cameras. And I'm happy to say that from day one, from the first day they're in our program, students get to pick up a camera, take a camera home with them. And not many, it's not normal for film programs to allow that. And we work them up from very basic cameras to, you know, industry standard cameras. We have several RED cameras. If you know about the RED company, they're now de rigueur for a lot of Hollywood shoots. We also have some Arris, and yeah, so there's a, don't really know how to go forward with this. It seems to be on. Is somebody, oh, hang on. No? What am I supposed to be pointing this at?
I can click it.
Oh, there you go. Okay, no worries. So I'll just show you. How did that happen?
Oh, I'm clicking it.
Oh, you're clicking. I have to say, I thought I was magically doing that. That's the Mesa del Sol building that we have out at out 20 minutes south of town. It's a little drive. We shuttle students out there. Beautiful building, beautiful architect designed. Antoine Predock is the architect. But yeah, that's taken from the vantage point of Netflix, which is just across the street. Carry on, please. Here's somebody on the set, one of our students on the set. You can see it's a beautiful Alexa camera. Out at Mesa del Sol, carry on. Yes, I just thought I'd bring you lots of pictures of our students doing things with cameras. This is a shoot we did out at Mesa del Sol. Obviously a beautiful Porsche, a vintage Porsche there, but our students on location. The great thing about Mesa del Sol is there's loads and loads of space. And like New Mexico, in general, you get wonderful locations out there. Carry on. And yes, we have lots of RED cameras these days, which we're happy to say. Carry on. This is a lovely couple of pictures of a premiere. We have a capstone premiere every year. And as you can see, we have the backdrop, the customary backdrop. We give them a red carpet every year. This is the family. This is a student of ours. Her name is Sterling Quist. She just graduated. This is her family at our capstone premiere. Carry on. And I love this picture. This is a group of young men who made one of our most successful films of last year at the premiere. Carry on. This is Gary Farmer. I was mentioning the Mentor series where we bring well-known people in. Gary Farmer, perhaps best-known Native American actor. He's on Reservation Dogs. He's been on Longmire. He was in Chim Jarmusch's movie Dead Man. So he came to talk to our students and made everybody very joyful. Carry on. This is one of our faculty members, Peter Lisignoli. And obviously we have a lot of artists slash techno fans in our department, and somebody who's recently found success at the Berlin Indie Film Festival. His recent movie was a winner at Portugal's Indie Film Festival as well. There's a lot of independent movie making going on in the department. Carry on. This is Ramona Emerson, who works with us on the Governor's Film Council. Ramona is one of our assistant professors, we're happy to say. Ramona is also a best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author of 2 novels. She's also a lion of the New Mexico film industry. And she made a great movie recently about Deb Haaland, their former Secretary of the Interior from New Mexico. All right, carry on. And this is our recent Emmy Award, Emmy nominee, Fritz Bitsui. Just thought I'd put him up there to round us off. Okay, I think that's it. Very nice.
Bring the thing up.
I'm sure I probably suffer from the same thing that rainforest suffers from too, where people come in and they're like, "What is a rainforest?" or "What is Arts Lab?" We have a really complicated. We do a lot of different things, and it can be hard to sum it up. Because sometimes just showing you pictures of what this place looks like can help. Yeah. Yeah, we've been around for 20 years. We're an interdisciplinary arts research center. This is our main mission is to foster cross-college collaborations and provide researchers with cutting-edge technology, champion inclusivity, offer public exhibition space, and ensure extended access to training. It means we do a lot of different things. This top picture on the right-hand side, this is from an event we had. It was called Traditions of Endurance. There were some researchers in evolutionary anthropology that have been studying energy expenditure. And so they're kind of looking at all arts practices, kind of energy expenditure. Why do humans, burn calories at all? And so their research involves a lot of looking at the two grad students in that program were really trying to connect more with tribal leaders about particular practices. And dance is one of them. And so they wanted to have a chance to kind of connect and get more feedback from community members and research. And so we kind of hold a symposium where we made the different techniques for tracking and data collection a bit more transparent so people could kind of engage in those conversations together. We've got a bunch of different really cool gizmos and gadgets. That's our digital jacquard loom. So if you can imagine a really complex jacquard loom for weaving, this is that, and on top of it, you control it with a computer. So you can do really amazing complex structures. When I wrote this grant with 5 other faculty members, there was someone from architecture and people from art and all over university writing on it together. It's a really exciting piece of machinery. And our giant 3D printer and a bunch of other stuff. This is kind of a highlight of our community immersive technology hub. This was an initiative that came about through a NASA grant that we received. So it was a $850,000 grant that the university received. We were just a part of it to get this initiative started, which was the Community Immersive Technology Hub. So the very first thing we do, of course, is we hold events to engage with stakeholders and learn more about them. And we started to kind of see where VR and AR touch the community. And you can see that there's lots of different places that are using and incorporating augmented reality and virtual reality technology, and a lot in education. And we started to identify that there was kind of a lack of understanding about what's that pipeline, K through 12 through college into industry for immersive media and real-time 3D. And so that became one of the focuses for us. We kind of developed the rest of that community immersive technology hub mission around it. And of course, a lot of it's going out and just acquiring all this technology, and AR, VR is changing so fast. It'd be hard to keep up with like what's relevant, what are people using right now. And you don't want to,
People probably need to know about what AR is.
Sure, I keep on saying AR. AR is augmented reality. So we probably know what virtual reality is. You put on a headset and you're inside of it. Whoa! Augmented reality is we can see the world through either if a headset's on, there's a pass-through camera, so we can see the world. And then we're like adding in these other digital elements on top of it. So we can have more kind of interactive spaces, or you see a lot of AR through your phone, hold up your phone, and things become added layers of data into the real world. So we kind of built this really large equipment suite. We also had this funding to start these online education modules. One of the things that I found when I was learning AR in a real-time 3D engines myself was you would find all these different tutorials, but none of them really gave you a sense of like, if you have an idea for a project, where does it start there and where does it end? It's always like just a sliver of a technique. And so we reached out to local creators and paid them to develop these 1-hour workshops. So this is some samples from Adrian Pijon's workshop, where he, in 1 hour, he shows you how to download this 3D model of the moon from NASA's website, and then to build an AR application so you can have the moon in your room. And so we're thinking about all these different ways to make these educational resources more accessible. We also have community engagement's a big part of this grant too. So I had some students develop this project in collaboration with the Bands of Enchantment Music Festival this summer. So they had if anyone went to, it was a really great concert in downtown. And so my students, they wanted to connect to the Route 66. And so they built this project where you sculpt neon in VR. So when you have the headset on, you can draw all these neon sculptures. And then when you're done, you can have them emailed to you as 3D files, or you can export GIFs and all this stuff. It was a really awesome project, and there's a huge line for it, and they've shown it a lot more since then. It was really great. We've also started the XR Archive, which is like a collection of games that people can come in and play, just because VR, AR literacy is something that we realized that people will talk about it, but people haven't put headsets on. So we're trying to make it more accessible. And also, this is another big part of that grant too, was this Unity partnership. So Unity is kind of the industry leading real-time 3D engine. And when we say real-time 3D, if you watch a Pixar movie, someone has made some animations and then rendered it, and you've watched that on the screen. But when you play a video game, you're affecting it in real time. And this is a big breakthrough in computer graphics, right? Real time, really fast real time 3D engines. And so the same program that you would use to make video games, you can use to make complex physics simulations, or you can use to make interfaces for users at like a kiosk or whatever you wanted to do. So we started offering these free workshops for educators first. We had 15 different educators from around New Mexico sign up for this, and they're completely free. And then we offered 2 more courses last semester, and we're offering 2 more this semester as well, as far as a series of webinars, just trying to make all this information something that people can get their hands on. Yeah, and so there's some of the impact we've had. It was a really busy year last year. This is all from last year. We had $148,000 that we invested into accessible XR hardware. $256,000 was dedicated to our partnership with Unity. And we've had over 67 people go through our courses, and 200 plus equipment rentals from from our CITH. And I have some testimonials too from Arts Lab people. This is John Mark Collins. This is the exact kind of event that I would run into John Mark at, so I'm surprised he's not here. But if you don't know John Mark, he started one of the co-founders of Electric Playhouse in town. He was a student who used Arts Lab all the time too, and he wrote us a really nice testimonial about like the impact that it had for him. This is something that it can be really hard for me as like a director to put my finger on about the impact we have, in what I call the creative economy around Albuquerque, because a character like John Mark like goes on to like mentor all these other people that start their own like crazy weird galleries and new explorations. And I think it's something we have to do a better job at as a university, is kind of articulating this kind of wide branching like rhizomatic impact that we have across the creative economy. And also Connor Peterson, another student who came through Arts Lab, who then went on to Meow Wolf. We have undergrads before they're even done with school get hired by Meow Wolf, and people who've even left Meow Wolf will come back and got master's degrees. So we do a lot of exchange with Meow Wolf because of just the creative applications of technology. Yeah, hopefully that gave you a better sense of all the different things to do over at Arts Lab.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Alicia, I'm going to move so that I can see better and people won't have to look over me.
The sounds at the end. Okay, so just a brief, like I mentioned earlier, interactive murals are traditional murals that we embed electronics into. So this was the first mural that I made with my PhD advisor, Leah Beakley, and professional muralist, Nani Bachacon. I'm going to stop that real quick before we go to that one. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, that first mural is actually in the Ferris Engineering Building here at UNM, or at UNM. And it was an ode to the women in computer science that made a huge difference, but are not usually talked about. But also the history of Native American women weavers, kind of the Jarkhoud loom that you were talking about. They used punch cards, which is actually how computers started. Was they started doing punch cards from those. So that was kind of our ode to a woman, to like the women in history for computer science and the Native American weavers here. That first mural was mainly just to figure out how can we make these because they did not exist. So that mural had over 3,000 LEDs, touch sensors, and we used different materials like conductive paint and conductive tape. But then we wanted to work with the actual like youth here in Albuquerque. So this mural right here, let's see. Yeah. So this one's located actually downtown here off of like 4th Street in Atlantic. This is at Working Classroom, which Working Classroom is a nonprofit organization that we collaborated with. They do art workshops for youth that are free. And so we worked with them to recruit our students to work with, and then also this mural is actually on their building. And so the students, we go through this, summer workshop where they learn how to, create a mural, 2, learn how to program, build with electronics, and then create these like very large interactive pieces. The students are awesome. I don't have it in here, but they do have some, they do have some really good quotes of just like their experience from being like, I've never been able to do technology. I don't know how, like I have no interest in it. And then now they're like, this is so cool. I can do so much more with this. I do have some papers published on those that talk about the student learning outcomes and whatnot. So those 2 murals, I think, were done in 2021 and 2022. This next mural is actually at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. So another mural that we did with middle school and high school students. And this one actually makes sound. So I'm going to not talk for this next little part. Yeah, so that was one of our murals, like I said, at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. So all of the projects that I've been working on, we want to work with the community, not just like the local students, but also these different art organizations here in New Mexico. Because our state has so much history in art and so much rich culture. So we try to kind of combine all of that. So by bringing in the art that already exists here and traditions that are here, and then just kind of building in some technology into it, but mainly just having it be community based. That's where like my focus of my research has been. Yeah, and if you have more questions about it, I could go on forever, but I will keep it short.
So this next question is sort of a trick question. And it says, what do you think about the idea that creativity involves experimentation? Some that work, some that fail, some that give unexpected, wonderful results. And would you like to talk about some that worked, failed, or gave unexpected, wonderful results?
Should I take the mic? Thank you. Well, I want to point out that even though we did pivot to a more commercial style of filmmaking some decade ago, we still have a lot of experimental filmmakers in our department. That seems to be the world from which we draw most of our faculty, actually, is the experimental, the avant-garde, the people who are pushing the boundaries of what a film should actually look like, sound like, feel like, very challenging sort of art. So that's one element of our experimentation. The other one is, though, that we've sort of made it a foundational part of the way we teach, to try to instill the notion that failure is not a bad thing. And it's a very un-American concept, actually. I think the idea that failure could in some way be good. We're not supposed to fail. But this is the place to do it, we try to say, simply because if you're going into the film industry, the commercial film industry has virtually no room for experimentation whatsoever. The budgets are so tight, the timing is so tight. There's such an emphasis on what they call pre-visualization now, pre-viz. They used to do storyboards. It's now much more technologically advanced, the way we pre-visualize a film. But yes, the studios don't want you to experiment. They want you to walk in the door knowing exactly what you're going to do on that day, and this is how you're going to spend their money. And they don't want their money being thrown around on a lot of time wasting and experimentation. And God forbid you throw around the word failure. So we impress upon our students that, yes, we're interested in experimentation. This is the place to do it. This is the place right now at this university during your 4 years with us. This is the place where you try and you fail and you experiment, because unless you're going to be an experimental filmmaker, which is its whole thing, but if you're going to go into the commercial realm, which most of our students want to do, you are not going to be allowed to do that. So do your experimentation now. We love it. We want to keep that mentality, but on the set, you're going to have precious few opportunities for that.
Yeah, it's we're a research facility, so it's all about experimentation and it's all about learning. And I think sometimes, at least in the College of Fine Arts, when we talk about research, we talk about your practice is research. I hear that all the time. I'm a bit more specific that I think that research has to advance the field. You have to learn something from it. You have to communicate what you learned. So that can be difficult too. I think when there's a lot of formal outlets to do that, the paper and the conference presentation, and they don't always allow the space for exactly what emerges from the experiments that happen in our context to be communicated. Because I really think in art we're experimenting with meaning. We're trying to see how meaning emerges, and when we put materials together, what do they start saying? And being able to find space and encourage students, because even though you're telling them like, just go wild, like trust your gut, they can feel a lot of pressure, like they're supposed to be a certain kind of student. And so you have to build some infrastructure, that provides them with some space that feels safe to make those two experiment. And most importantly, you have to set a good example. You have to have people around them that are also experimenting, so you can start to speak the same language. And that's what we try to do. I think that's been a really big focus recently. The hardest thing to do at the university is hire people externally. We found some ways to kind of hire people on for projects at the lab, and then have them running these external projects, but they start to act as mentors to our students who are working out of the lab. And then these new things emerge, and they're really starting to set this, they're demonstrating what a practice looks like a truly experimental practice that they can embrace that kind of experimentation their whole life.
Actually, my research does a lot of the same thing. So anytime we have these workshops with our students, whether they're in middle school, high school, I've done workshops not on this large of a scale, but with adults and and college students. And we really focus on just giving them, like I said, the space to explore and play with these like different components. The first or the second mural that I showed, that was the first time doing that with middle school and high school students. And the copper tape that we use as actual circuitry, you can easily rip it. And I remember my students, they started making fun of me because they like would rip it and be like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, it's okay, like it's fine. And they're like, everything's fine to you. And I'm like, well, it is though. Like we can just solder it and it still works. And they slowly, like after a while, just got used to being like, oh, okay, like I know how to fix things now. And so, yeah, I just think just giving students that opportunity to have space to explore and also failing in front of them too, because I think that shows them that, hey, it's okay. I'm human too. Just because I'm teaching you this workshop does not mean that I'm not human and make mistakes. And I know a few of my students have been like, thank you for like being like real about the whole situation or just like my work process. And so, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Back to you.
This is the last question, and many of these issues have already been addressed. So I'm going to ask it, but I don't insist that people answer this extensively. They might just want to add some things that they haven't already dealt with. So it's, what is the model for your creativity and the role that it plays in the entrepreneurial, economic development, and or community engagement?
Thank you. So, I mean, honestly, a lot of the work that I do is focused on actually finding things that the students that I'm working with are interested in and then expanding on that. So like the students that I worked with on these murals, they had already done previous murals around town, but not interactive murals, so not incorporating technology. So using like their skills and their just learning tools and whatnot to then kind of teach them something new. And then my focus really is just on community and getting kids and adults just into these community-based projects that actually help make the city look pretty, and then just contributes to the history of like the mural making here in New Mexico.
Interdisciplinarity as an approach starts to shift your perspective of everything. And I think when we embed students in the lab and they start working across disciplines, they stop thinking about the things they know as siloed. So it's really easy. You might have a student who's studying gaming and they're really like, yes, I'm learning this 3D modeling. This gets put into a game, it gets put into something else. But it's different when you start putting them with someone from the herbarium collection who then wants to get a 3D model of some kind of plant before it gets squished and placed into an archive, right? And then the student is like, oh wait, I know all of the systems that work with this 3D model. I know how to manipulate it. I know it can show up in different places. And what emerges there is that you have students who then start thinking about what they know, not in the context of a discipline, but as like a fluid competency that can be applied to other things. And then that completely shifts. It changes who they are. And I get to watch it happen. It's my favorite part of my job. It happened to me too when I was younger. And then suddenly you start interacting with other people and you see all these solutions. And to me, there's nothing more like entrepreneurial than that. You're seeing these kind of gaps in where people can communicate or connect, and you're finding ways to resolve that. And it opens up new paradigms. And of course, like everything for me always boils down to what does it do for art? So that opens up new paradigms for expression. It opens up new spaces for meaning, and also new voices to contribute to these conversations. And so that's, we can just kind of say interdisciplinarity and not really commit to it, but when you really commit to it, it changes everything.
On the first day that we have our students begin their degree, we have an orientation. And on that day, I asked them to look around the room and realize that the people they're sitting near are going to be the people that they're going to be picking up the phone to in 10 years' time, or asking to be part of their project in 10 years' time. And so we opened the notion of networking very, very quickly and interacting with their peers and doing as many projects as possible with as many different people as possible, not only student projects, but projects around town, you know, work on Netflix projects as a PA, and join the union and meet people like that. If you're working on a set, just don't get on people's nerves, but talk to as many people as possible, you know. Do the right thing. Don't be on your phone all day. Don't sit down, stand up, you know, be available. And that's the business model that we try to put out to students. Is like everything in this industry is about interacting with your peers and building a network. So that's one thing about our business model. We're constantly talking about networking. The other one is pitching. How do you sell your project? And that's so important. You know, if you find yourself on that set with somebody with a degree of influence and you have 15 seconds to talk to them, you can pitch your project pretty successfully, actually, in 15 seconds. And so we try to talk to students about that, the so-called elevator pitch. So yes, pitching and networking are a massive part of our business model.
So we've come to the end of the questions, and I'd like to conclude a couple ways. First, thank the panelists. Cecilia, and what I'd say is I'm going to open this up to questions from the audience. But what I'd like to say is we've conducted an experiment here today that we're trying to engage the community, engage discussions about technology and art and bring that to the rainforest. And we have three outcomes in experiments. Some work, some fail, and some lead to unexpected, wonderful results. You can decide for yourself. Going forward, there are going to be 2 more of these scheduled. Maybe if we get unexpected, wonderful results, there'll be more. Cecilia and I are open to different types of questions, open to suggestions about who we might engage from the community. So one of the wonderful things about experiments is conducting experiments together. So at this point, do we have questions from the audience? Yes.
Early, you mentioned afterwards getting work jobs at Netflix and those types of things. Who should someone call, a student call or contact directly to get another outlet for work here in Albuquerque within this field after graduating?
Well, I wish it were that simple that one could pick up the phone and do that. But however, there are avenues, and the 2 avenues I would say are one is the crew union here in town is IATSE 480. Go to their website, IATSE, IATSE 480. And they have something called an overflow list. And if you put your name on that, you can start to get work. And the main thing, if you want to work crew and get to know people, is to get into the union. So that'll be a pathway to the union. And they will call you up and they have space on jobs. The other thing you can do is call the Film Commission in Santa Fe, and they will talk to you about shows that are coming into town and how you might connect with those.
Awesome. And my apologies. Which union?
IATSE.
IATSE is the, okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a comment, not a question, but I'm listening to all of you and you talk about, you know, some of the outcomes being in the, what I'll call the intersection of disciplines and different people working together. It's the same thing that happens, we see in the engineers and scientists, et cetera. those who are in specialized research centers that involve faculty, staff, and students from different disciplines often have unexpected results and in terms of inventions. So it's very analogous, I think. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the, when we have things like Rainforest and you have things like Arts Lab or these other kind of initiatives that are really focused on interdisciplinarity, to me, like the goal is to be modeling new alternative formats for the university structure as a whole. That to me, when we're trying to recruit students, the things we're now competing against is just the real world. Like you don't have to decide pick a department or pick a college as you enter the university. If you're not in a university, like these silos are completely they're built, and now we have to do all this extra work to kind of navigate around them. And I think that that's the real work as we have success in these small honors. I always think about honors college as well at the University of Mexico as really amazing kind of experimental courses that emerge that are collaborative between a professor and a student. And I would just like to see that be integrated more into the whole structure of university so that students can just study whatever. I've always been a firm believer that if you're in math class, you should be able to make art as an assignment. Like I don't understand why these things have to be split up. But I think the more that we embrace that as a way to move forward and a way to restructure, I think that we'll have better results in the end because it prepares you more for what real life is like, in my opinion.
Hopefully this is very quick. How will the new CCAT building, which is very exciting to watch under construction, how will that affect each of your departments and your own particular line of work?
For us, it's huge. So we're been in the same building for 20 years. It's falling apart, and the university doesn't want us there anymore. We're moving into CCAT. Our studio space doubles right now. A lot of our fabrication equipment is like sharing the same space as our studio, so that our giant 3D printer, if you print anything on it, it's probably going to take at least a week. And so that ends up shutting down the studio for major production. So they'll be isolated in their own spaces, soundproofed, which is huge. And it's also going to deepen our connection to computer science. We're already working on a partnership, a faculty member being placed as a director of spatial computing inside of Arts Lab. So there's a lot more interest on campus to connect with us as through CCAT. So CCAT's a really, really major move for us. We've been building like what I think is a really crazy new media arts center kind of in a garage basically across campus, but it's getting ready to move into this really high profile space. So please come connect with us when we move there.
CCAT also for us massive in the sense that, like I said, it's a purpose-built studio space for the first time for us. But also beyond that, we are looking to project movies against the side of the building. We'd love to have a version of, when you sit on Johnson Field, take a blanket and watch 2001: A Space Odyssey or whatever it is, on a Friday night. We'd love to project on the side of the building, have that become a regular thing. Also there's a music hall, a symphony hall as part of it. And at the end of each year, we have a screening. I showed you some pictures of our premiere where we have the red carpet and all that. We're going to start to have our red carpet events in that building, in the symphony hall, which has projection capabilities. So we've always had to do it in Rhodey Theatre or Keller or whatever, but this will be much nicer. You don't?
I don't.
Yeah.
I'd say too that also I think one of the things that's frustrating me about the university in general is that it can feel hard to figure out as a community member how you connect to university. Like I get that a lot too, where people reach out and they're like, how can I talk to or meet someone, or how can I get in touch? And I really think that CCAT from the beginning has been planned as a way to make it more accessible, to make the College of Fine Arts more accessible. And it's been designed to be that. So it's something that I think is going to hold everyone in the future too accountable to this thing. You're going to be able to see straight through it. Like it's a really exciting, amazing space. Also, if you don't know, the architects are DS&R. This is like a this is the kind of architecture firm that, you know, when I was a grad student, you would just be like, whoa, you'd look through all their work and just freak out. They did the High Line in New York, they did ICA Boston and the Broad in LA. So this building's like, it's an incredible structure. So it's really exciting to be part of it.
Thanks to the audience and thanks to our panelists.